Most people think about food like this. What am I going to eat today? Will it taste good? Will it give me energy or fill me up? But here is a better question. How will the food I eat today age me tomorrow? Stick with me here, because the food that you ate today is either silently speeding up or slowing down the way that your brain, your body, and even your skin will age into the future. I'm Dr. Joanette, your longevity expert, creator of the Longevity Switch, ER doctor, and professor of medicine. I grew up in a blue zone. Blue zones are those areas around the world where the people in them live much longer than average. They live well into their 90s, 100s, and even beyond. And they do it without eating or consuming 15 pills a day or going to visit their doctor 3 times a week. My great-grandparents and my grandparents were part of that. My mom just turned 102, and she still has a sharp mind and a strong body. She walks nearly a mile every day and volunteers in her community. Blue zone residents don't biohack. They don't count macros, and yet they thrive. They live longer, better, and are usually healthier than many people half their age. As a physician, I've spent decades observing and studying blue zone cultures, and I can tell you their longevity isn't just luck, but it is design. So what is behind their longevity? Aging is more than just about getting older. It's also about how well your cells are able to repair themselves, how well your immune system functions, and how well your gut and your brain communicate with each other behind the scenes. Here's the twist though. Our standard American plate is filled with ultra-processed foods, refined carbohydrates, high fructose corn syrup products, and sugary drinks. People who live in the blue zone don't eat a standard American diet. They eat something completely different. They eat what I call the longevity plate. So what is on the longevity plate? Let's break it down. 50% of your longevity plate should contain vegetables. These are colorful, high fibrous vegetables. Things like carrots and red cabbage, broccoli, and kale. These are vegetables that are packed with polyphenols, fiber, and micronutrients that will support your gut health, your immune system, and also your cellular repair mechanisms. If your gut is happy, your brain and your body are happy as well. Here's a pro tip. The more colors on your plate, the more antioxidants are in your cells. Aim to eat at least 30 different colorful vegetables every single week. In other words, eat the rainbow. And I'm not talking Skittles. 25% of your longevity plate should consist of clean, primarily plant-based, but also animal-based protein. Things like tofu, beans, legumes, wild-caught salmon, grass-fed beef, and free-range chicken. All of these protein sources will support good muscle strength, muscle health, and as we age, we tend to lose muscles. However, we do not need to lose muscles if we have adequate protein in our diet. We used to think that you decrease the amount of protein in your diet as you got older. However, recent science and studies have shown that we actually need to increase the amount of protein in our diet as we age, especially over the age of 65, to prevent sarcopenia, which is muscle loss. We need to increase it by as much as about 40%. What does that translate to into in grams of protein? That is between 1.8 and 2 grams of protein per kilogram of ideal body weight. In other words, for the average person, that is around 100 to 120 grams of protein every single day. However, moderation is the key. Blue zoners don't eat steak every single day. They eat it maybe 2 or 3 times a week. When I grew up as a vegetarian, which meant that our diet was primarily plant-based with dairy and eggs as an additional protein source. 15% of your plate is healthy fats, extra virgin olive oil, avocados, coconut oil, seeds, and nuts. These fats not only make your food taste amazing, but They also are anti-inflammatory. They help stabilize your hormones, and they're important for brain health and to prevent cognitive decline. Here's a fun fact. In Sardinia, Italy, they consume olive oil like it's water, and yet their brains are healthy well into their 90s and even beyond. 10% of your plate should be low glycemic carbohydrates. Things like purple sweet potatoes, quinoa, and oats. All of these foods are slow-burning fuel for your cells. They help keep your blood sugar balanced and prevent blood sugar spikes, as well as a process called glycation, which is a fancy name for when sugar gets stuck to your cells. It causes it to stick together. That sticking of the collagen and elastin is what causes wrinkles, sagging, and that skin that we associate with old age. No carbs are evil. However, refined carbs, yeah, they are evil. The real ones come from the earth, and the refined ones, totally different story. They all come from a food factory. Let's get real. This next part's not very much fun, but it is critical because here is what is not on a longevity plate. It does not contain high ultra-processed foods, high fructose corn syrup, sugary drinks, and refined carbohydrates. These are the substances, the food that will light a fire in your body. It will burn and cause chronic inflammation, which will burn through your health slowly, day by day, and accelerate your aging. These foods are like pushing the fast forward button on your aging process. Remember, it's not what you do once in a while, but what you do consistently, day after day, over time, that matters the most. Plant-based eating habits that will nourish your body at the cellular level. I didn't study this in a book. I didn't learn it from a lab or in a lecture hall. I have been living this since I was born. My family has lived now 5 generations in a Blue Zone community. I've seen firsthand what happens every time I go to work in the ER. When we eat a diet that is the standard American plate, it accelerates aging, and I am seeing chronic diseases in 20 and 30-year-olds, heart disease, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, strokes, and diabetes. I didn't used to see these diseases when I started my career more than 30 years ago until we were in our 60s, 70s, and beyond. So ask yourself, are you eating to stay alive, or are you eating to thrive? If this video gave you something to chew on, pun intended, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for real talk health tips. Also, thank you for visiting my website at growwithdrjoanette.com. There you will find recipes, resources, as well as free longevity guides. We'll see you next time on the Dr. Joanette channel. Thank you so much for joining me today.